Hello, welcome to you. It's great to have you back. My name's Steve Cullis. I'm a minister in the Methodist Church and I serve churches in Hethersett and Wymondham and Morley in Norfolk. I want to give a special welcome today to people from Sprowston Methodist Church who are going to be joining these videos throughout August. And just to say, it's great to have you here. Thanks for coming along. So we've just done a little mini-series on the subject of aim. Throughout August, we're going to start another little mini-series today, and it's going to be about life journeys. We're going to be thinking about our journeys through life. Some journeys are literal journeys, and they're journeys we choose to take. To my left here, I've got a couple of items from journeys Julie, my wife, and myself have been lucky enough to take. This is a picture of Picton Harbour in New Zealand, coming in on the Inter-Islander ferry, which was an amazing trip we were lucky enough to have in February of 2019. And then a little further back is something, an Aboriginal item from Western Australia, in the Perth area. And that again is a really special memory for us from the trip to Western Australia we took quite a number of years ago in 2016. Of course, travel's very much in the news at the moment with the restrictions on quarantine of people unable to come back from Spain or needing to quarantine when they're in Spain, or perhaps having put off a holiday they've really been looking forward to. So that's very much in the news and perhaps in our thoughts at the moment. Of course, some journeys aren't just about moving from one physical place to another, but they're part of a journey of life. Very often in television shows, it's very in vogue on some of the documentaries for people to say it's been quite a journey, by which they mean that something personally shifted or moved in their mind. And we're thinking about both kinds of journeys over the next month. The journey can of course be having to adapt to a new reality. I think you could pretty much say that the last 4 months or so in our world have seen a journey for me from perhaps a more carefree world back in January and February, now to a world where we have to be a lot more cautious and a lot more aware and think a lot more about the most casual of actions that we take with the coronavirus at the moment. So have a think. Where have you been? What journeys have you taken? How has your journey over the last 12 months been? Have you been on a journey that's brought you closer to some people? Have you been on a journey that's brought you closer to God? Have a think about some of those things just for a few moments, and then we're going to continue with that theme. So those who are observant will notice I now have a Bible in front of me. There's a reason for that, and that's because we're going to have a companion book throughout August as we think about journeys. It's from the Bible. It's a book called Ruth. If you have a Bible at home, have a read of it. It's probably about a fifth of the way into a Christian Bible, in the first part of our Bible. If you don't have a Bible handy, go online and have a look at Bible Gateway, and you can read the Book of Ruth there and have a read. It's a story, and it's a good story. This story starts with a woman called Naomi. Naomi's world has just been turned upside down. She lives in a foreign land, her husband has died, and then her two sons died, and that leaves a family unit of Naomi and her two daughter-in-laws who are called Ruth and Orpah. Naomi has a time of wrestling with God, as you would. She says at the end of the first chapter of Ruth that God has made her life bitter. And that bitterness, that world being turned upside down, marks the start of a new life journey for Naomi. Naomi decides through this time of wrestling with God that it's time for her to return home. It's time for her to return to the land where she feels closer to God. So that's my first question. When do circumstances in life make us decide it's time to start a new phase in life? When do circumstances make us decide it's time to start a new part in our life? They may not be circumstances that we've chosen. They may be circumstances that have forced us to make a decision. So that's my first question today. When have you last felt that circumstances meant you were starting a new phase in life? And is that something you can relate to our common journey as a world over the last 4 or 5 months, that we've been forced to start on a new phase of life as a community, as a world, as individuals together? So in our story, Naomi, having made her decision that it's a new part in life, knows that she has to prepare for a journey. And to her bereaved daughter-in-laws, they also grieving the loss of their husband, to Orpah and to Ruth, she says, I'm going back home, but you stay here. You stay with your own people, with your own families. You stay here and begin your new life here. It's time for separation. It's time for me to go back to my people and you to go to your people. Quite a brave move, quite a radical move. And what happens in the story is both daughter-in-laws fall on her weeping and said, we can't possibly do that. We can't possibly do that. We can't leave you. In the culture of the day, Naomi is going to be absolutely defenceless with no family to look after her. And both daughter-in-laws said, there's no way we can do that to you. So that's my second question. How do we need to talk to people when we have different needs? I read something on the BBC News, it is Thursday today as I'm recording to this, that said that one of the things that the crisis of the last months have made us do as a nation was pull together a bit. And there were signs that was beginning to fray at the edges. And there is a new sense of urgency in the fact we need to learn to talk to each other without insulting each other. We need to learn to understand one another better, to understand where the other person's coming from. So that's my next question today. In what ways can we actually talk? There are lots of different needs as we are emerging out of lockdown. Some people feel very fearful about the lockdown. Some people just cannot wait to be back in normal again. So how do we talk to each other? How do we assess and help each other through different needs? That's my second question to you today. And here's what happens next in the story.
Again, they started crying. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye and went back home. But Ruth held on to her. So Naomi said to her, Ruth, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her God. Go back home with her.
So as I read that, I guess it tells us, doesn't it, that the first part of moving on is about letting go of what we're moving on from. I wonder how Naomi was going to feel about Orpah from that point on. And I guess any moving on, Orpah isn't mentioned again in the story. Naomi was going to have to let go of any sense, justified or unjustified, of ill feeling she had towards Orpah at that point. I wonder where forgiveness is a part of being able to start a journey that we need desperately to go on. I wonder where forgiveness is the beginning of being able to move on. Let's carry on. Let's go back to story. Colin's going to carry on reading for us.
But Ruth answered, "Don't ask me to leave you. Let me go with you. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and that is where I will be buried. May the Lord's worst punishment come upon me if I let anything but death separate me from you." When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she said nothing more.
What an extraordinary expression of love and loyalty from Ruth to Naomi there. Don't ask me to leave you, let me go with you. Wherever you go, I will go. So in life journey, how is loyalty and part of your life journey? Who is God drawing you together with to help you through? That's my last question for today. How's loyalty? Who are the people who are important to you that attend this next part of your life journey? Couple more things from the table. This is a pair of praying hands that's made from olive wood that comes from the Holy Land that was given to me last year. And this is a little badge that was also given to me last year with the word Pilgrim Path on it. And that's my going out thought for us today as we go out. It's pilgrimage. How does the last 4 or 5 months feel if you put the word pilgrimage to it? I've not done a pilgrimage, but as I understand it, you physically get from one place to another, usually by walking. And as you do that journey, you hopefully leave things behind in your old life and you head towards a new destination, and there's something about that progress that when you arrive in the destination, you can see the world in a new light. You have a greater sense of what's important in life. And of course, pilgrimage is a huge part of Christian faith and of the other world faiths as well that are in our planet. I had something suggested to me this week that's really intrigued me. How does it feel if we try out the word pilgrimage to describe what we've been doing in the last 4 or 5 months? Where we've left something behind, perhaps a world which felt more secure in the West. And we're journeying at the moment, we're pilgriming through a world that may feel less certain. How does the word pilgrimage work for you with that? If it does, I'm thinking about the Book of Ruth, which we've started today. What is it that we've needed to move on from? As we do that, who do we need to release? Perhaps in forgiveness, or perhaps especially in forgiveness. Who are our companions on the road? The people who've said to us, I will accompany you. And particularly, what does it mean to take the last 4 or 5 months and to make them a prayer to God? What does it mean in the last 4 or 5 months for us to have become so aware of the companionship of God that we're beginning to see the world in a completely different light? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Thank you for being here today. Special thanks to Colin, who read for us, for Sue, who played the keyboard for us, and to Ben, who is going to play us out with Be Thou My Vision. I pray that this week you will know the blessing and love and care of God around you as you journey through life. I pray that you will know his care, his constant companionship for you, for those whom you love, for your families and your friends.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, nor be all else to me, say that thou art, thou my best, Lord, by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my life. Be thou my wisdom, be thou my true word, I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my soul shelter, and thou my heart tower. Raise thou me heavenward, O power of my power. Riches I need not, no man's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance now and always. Thou and thou only, the first in my heart. High King of heaven, my treasure thou art. O High King of heaven, after victory won,